I spent over $1,000 on graduation day buying special trainings on smoking, weight loss, pain, and stress. So I invested 50% of the original tuition in additional materials, and that didn't include the suggested reading list. Amazon loved me. Hey, today I am answering a couple of questions that I received while I was pretty much out the past month. And even though this is questions about how I got started as a hypnotist, even if you're not interested in becoming a hypnotist, it will give you a window into how I work with clients and how I choose clients. If this is your first time listening, I was a healthcare provider for 25 years. I was in nursing for 10 years. I was in anesthesia for 15. And I was 7 years, 8 years into my anesthesia career when I trained in hypnosis. So the first of these questions you would think should be the last question, but the other question is going to answer and give context to my answer to the first question. Someone had reached out to me and wanted to know if I do mentorship for hypnotists. And in the past, I have done mentorship. I think that the first most important thing is to understand the difference between mentorship and a business coach or a skills coach. In the case of hypnosis, a mentor is someone who has been there, done that, and they are really walking beside you, helping you to build and grow. They're helping you to avoid the mistakes that they've made. A skills coach or a business coach is going to give you feedback on strategy, feedback on your skills, help you get clarity on some of the gaps you have. Coaches don't teach. I mean, some coaches do teach, but the purpose of a coach is not to teach. It is for clarity, it is for strategy, and to help you gain motivation. Now, when you're new, the most important thing before you go hire a mentor or a coach is to know what you need mentorship and coaching in. Some people do, but most people don't, especially if they've never had a business, because there is so much really good marketing out there. And if someone has never been taught the big overarching picture of what goes into building a sustainable business, then, you're throwing darts in the dark, because you might hit on something. And yes, it's a very important piece and you learn a lot, but without the other pieces, you don't get the results, because you see people talking about, oh, get your first 10K month. So and so started working with me, and in 60 days, they had their first $50,000 month. Well, that's great. But having been in business for several years, I can tell you there were a lot of pieces in place to achieve that level of success and to sustain it. So, did they sustain it? Who knows? Because rapid success can happen, but if you don't have the systems in place, if you don't know how you got there, it is difficult to sustain that. That's just something to keep in mind. And the answer is, I no longer provide one-on-one or group mentorship or coaching, unless if I had availability and one of my alumni reached out to me who's been through my training program, I would do an assessment. And depending on the situation, most likely the answer would be no. But there is a chance that the answer could be yes. Because one of the things that I've learned is that it is not helpful to be someone's cheerleader. It is not helpful to be the encourager. Someone has to find their own motivation. They have to find their own motivation to get things going and to sustain things. You can guide someone, but I think that too many people don't do the inner work to understand why they even need external motivation to get going anyway. People who are new to business really need a lot of encouragement, because what I experienced when I was new to business, when I left my anesthesia, now the side hustle, that was one thing, but when I left anesthesia, no one understood. No one understood. Instead of getting encouragement from family and from friends, it was like, oh, so when are you going back to anesthesia? How long are you gonna do this? Are you really serious about this? Well, hello, I quit my job. So I would say I'm pretty serious. They just thought it was a phase, the midlife crisis thing, whatever. But let me give you some context into the reason I really don't offer mentorship anymore. So the other question that I was asked was, how did you get started seeing clients? How did you get started? What did you do? How did you get started helping clients? So this was more than just a how did the business get started question, but like, how do you actually get started working with clients? How do you find the clients? How do you know where to start? And this is something that comes inside the training. However, the training is mostly about understanding and grasping those hypnosis principles. We talk about it in the um, alumni area. I have a 30-day business Kickstarter that helps people to get the basics implemented so they have a foundation to build on. So I'm going to share how I got started, because the way that I got started is very different in a way from the way people get started now. So right now, we're in a very digital world. The last 12 years, the digital landscape has changed drastically. So when I got started in my hypnosis business, if you will, the first time, when I was getting ready to go on vacation, because I took 2 weeks vacation, 1 week for the training and 1 week to come see my parents. And I started talking about, everybody's excited to go on vacation. I was talking about having time off. And people said, what are you doing? Where are you going? Are you taking a cruise? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? I said, well, no, actually, I'm going to train in hypnosis. It's a continuing education course, but it's a full certification in hypnosis. And people's curiosity was just off the charts. Everybody wanted to know about it. And I would just have to share with them, like, really don't know, I haven't taken the training yet, but it's about smoking and weight loss, and I'll learn a little bit about pain and childbirth and all these things. I said, I really don't know what to expect. So people started coming out of the woodwork. Hey, when you come back, will you hypnotize me to stop smoking? Hey, when you come back, will you hypnotize me so I'm not snacking on sweets all the time? So I said, okay, when I come back, I'll let you know if I'm interested in doing that. Little did I know that when I went into that training was going to change my life in a way that I knew without a doubt it was what I was put on this planet to do. I knew without a doubt. And I called my husband and said, hey, I'm going to open a hypnosis office when I come back. And he thought I was nuts. Now, the training that I took was an NGH training. The National Guild of Hypnotists has a basic curriculum, and then instructors can build out around that curriculum. The basic curriculum itself talks about a little bit about a lot of different things. And then it's up to the hypnosis instructor, as I said, to fill that in. My hypnosis instructor, we did a module on mindset, a module on stress, a module on self-talk. And I'm saying modules, but that's really not how it was set up. We watched videos of him working with clients, and he broke it down. We learned hypnotic inductions, how to know if a person's hard to hypnotize, easy to hypnotize, different kinds of inductions. And when I walked away, I had a lot of information that gave me small amounts of specifics on a broad range of topics. It was wide, but it was shallow. And there was even I think it was a 21-step session checklist, which you would think, oh, wow, there's a step-by-step. No, it wasn't a step-by-step. It was a checklist. It didn't actually show you how to work with clients. It gave you a session setup, but when it came time to the skills that you need to be an effective hypnotist that aren't a hypnotic induction or a script or a language pattern, it wasn't there. It was truly a basic training. I spent over $1,000 on graduation day buying special trainings on smoking, weight loss, pain, and stress. So I invested 50% of the original tuition in additional materials, and that didn't include the suggested reading list. Amazon loved me. I was buying books left, right, and center. When I got back home, I reached out to the people who said, hey, will you do this? And I just reached out to them and said, hey, if you would do me a favor, I would love to work with you on this. I'm not going to charge you. I want you to just bear with the fact that I'm learning to organize my notes and my sessions. I didn't tell them I was practicing to get good at hypnotizing. I told them I was organizing myself and my sessions and my notes to get a flow so I could open an office. So after 4 or 5 people, an office opened up down the street, and the rent for the office, and it was an interior office in a professional building, it was the equivalent of the investment of one client for a package of sessions. So I went to my husband and said, hey, if one client a month decides to work with me, the rent's paid for. Other than the deposit, there's no upfront costs here. From that point forward, I was always immersed in research, studying. Clients would come in, we would have a first session, they would leave, I would map out a process forward, they would come in the next week for their session, and they had changed their mind on what they wanted. And now I'm not prepared. And I was winging it. I mean, you'll learn how to do that. But there was immense amount of pressure. I'm the type of person, if I say I can help you do something, I better be able to do it. That's just who I am. And what I noticed was that people who deal with emotional issues, hypnosis scripts don't cut it. Language patterns don't necessarily cut it unless you have an understanding of what has gotten people into this place. I was not taught that the things I was helping people with were symptoms. Cravings, it's a symptom. Drinking too much, it's a symptom. Procrastinating by watching TV instead of going outside and taking a walk, it's a symptom. Smoking is a symptom. There are emotions. People who deal with pain, there are emotions involved in that process. I didn't know how to deal with any of that, even being an anesthesia provider, because that wasn't the aspect we dealt with in anesthesia. So I did my best. That was all I could do. I did my best. I continued to research, self-teach. At the same time, I was researching how to build my business in terms of how do I reach out to people? How do I go give talks at a place? Creating ads, learning how to do Google AdWords Express, which, by the way, in a suburban area, that was the quickest and fastest way to get clients. Google AdWords Express. Don't think it exists anymore. But I was also searching, how do I help people with these emotional issues? And that was when I discovered the process that's called 5-Path. And I started reading up on it. I started watching videos about it. And I immediately knew this is what I have to learn to get people real results. Because with classical hypnosis, you're recording custom audios, you're sending people home with things to listen to. I was burning discs. This is how long ago it was. I was burning a disc at the end of the session that I just did with the client. I was recording the video, I would pull the audio, I would clip it, and I would burn it to a CD. And my clients would have to listen every day, twice a day if they could. People don't have time for that. And again, it's only addressing the symptom. But basically, the way I got started, one was word of mouth. All you got to do is talk about hypnosis, and people are interested. And probably out of every 10 to 15 people are like, oh my God, that's so cool. You'll get one that'll sign up. Sometimes more. Most people are just, it's curiosity, and they're really not serious when they say, oh my God, I want to do that. It's just that in the moment excitement. I learned Google AdWords Express. Now, today is very different. I would tell you something very different today. What I would tell you today is, unless you were local in brick and mortar and you only want to see people face to face, do not invest a dime in advertising until you know you have your messaging and your strategy correct. You got to do that first. Otherwise, you're flushing your money down the toilet, flush it down the toilet, flush it down the toilet. Once I learned how to help people in a systematic way to clear through the emotional drivers of the problem they were dealing with, 5-path, I use that for probably 95% of my clients. It is a part of the process to get that emotional clearing and that emotional healing, because as I said, the behavior is a symptom. It's not the cause of the problem. The beliefs, the negative self-talk, it's a symptom. It's not the cause of the problem. Can it make the problem worse? Yes, absolutely. And as I started seeing those clients and I started getting really good results or really fast, like right out of the gate, I started raising my prices, and the rest is pretty much history. Now, when I closed that practice and I came here to Mississippi, it was a brick and mortar. I started with local ads. I started with Google AdWords Express. I had my first client booked in less than 2 weeks of running those Google ads, because I didn't have word of mouth here. In Connecticut, I had word of mouth with all the doctors I work with. I got referrals from those people. They didn't trust me at first. Okay, so you might say, oh, well, it was easy. You had all these doctors. They just wanted to send you clients. No, they didn't believe it and they didn't trust it because they couldn't define it. I had to convince them. I had to come to them with the research. I had to share snippets of studies. And sometimes I even I'm like, here, you want to read about it? I got an article right here for you. And you can read all about it if you want to. And sometimes seeing the article in a legitimate peer-reviewed publication was enough for them to refer clients over. But the other thing is, they were concerned about their own image, what their patients would think of them if they were referring them for hypnosis, because they didn't want their patients to think that they thought it was all in their head. However, they know that dealing with what's mental would help them physically get better. When I reopened, like I said, in 2018, I did the ads. And when I learned about the online space, really my start was in networking and then organic social media. That's how I've done it. Organic social media without a strategy can be very exhausting. It can really be simple, where people get caught up as they get in their head around what people think. What are people going to think? Are they going to think I'm crazy, or does it have to be perfect? Perfectionism kills businesses faster than anything else. It ends up causing cash flow problems, no clients, and really what you end up having is a really expensive hobby and not a business. That was how I got started. And it's also the reason why I don't do mentorship outside of my alumni. If I don't know what training you've had, I mentor people when I've mentored people, I mentor them in optimizing what I've taught them so they can get results faster for clients so they can have a deeper understanding of what's happening with their clients, and they can learn more quickly how to see the patterns that are there. When it comes to business, some people are like, well, I don't want to be on social media. Well, social media is what I do. So if you don't want to be on social media, other than to tell you you need a solid foundation where you're doing some marketing and you're selling and you have a way to communicate to people how you're helping them and not just screaming, I'm a hypnotist, I'm a hypnotist, I've got hypnosis, you want hypnosis? Come over here. Then I am not going to be able to help you much more beyond that. Believe me, I have invested in sales coaches, in business coaches. Oh yeah, we can do all this. And then I get in there and they don't understand hypnosis. They're wanting me to sell a $50 15-minute micro session. Are you fucking kidding me? A 15-minute micro session is not going to get somebody lasting results. They're going to feel good in the moment, but then they're going to go out there and the feel good is going to fade. They're going to feel bad again, and then they're going to think hypnosis doesn't work for them. They're going to think hypnosis doesn't work for them, and you've done the person a disservice because they're going to say, oh, it was me. I can't be helped. I can't be fixed. So I think that having integrity in what we do and not falling for the person who says they can help everyone. Because if you want mentorship from me and you've learned language patterns and metaphors and stories, and you're wanting me to help you strategize how to help clients, my answer is going to be, you got to go to the root cause. You've got to go to the root cause. Now, if someone is simply wanting to build a new habit, they're like, oh, I would just want to add this new thing to my routine and I just want it to be easy. That's a hypnosis audio. You want to drink more water? That's a hypnosis audio. You want to start walking 5 minutes a day and you keep forgetting to, put your walking gear where you see it first thing in the morning. So you get up and you immediately get dressed and you get up and go out for a walk. That's a hypnosis audio. But if the shoes and the walking shorts are there, and you're having a battle inside of your head, you need to walk, you want to walk, you have the time to walk, but someone's like, no, just sit down and watch TV, just one more episode, just one more episode. That's not a neuroplasticity. That's not building a new pathway. That's tearing down what's arguing on the inside. I don't know. I feel like I was a little bit all over the place. This really wasn't structured, but that's really the gist of how I got going. Strategy is important when you start your business. There are a few things that you want to know. You want to know what you want your business to do for you, so that as you build out how you work with your clients, you're making decisions that are aligned with building a business that is aligned with what you want. And I'm not talking money. How many hours do you want to work? Do you have kids who are in school? Do you need a schedule that works around a kid's school schedule? Do you want to work weekends only? You have to know, and how much, and yes, how much income, if it's going to be your sole source of income. Because if you're not making your decisions every day from the place of this is the end goal, does this decision right now, is this going to help me get to my end goal, or is it distracting me and taking me somewhere else? Am I losing time on my own goals by catering to something just because I'm chasing $50 or $100 or $250 from a client or a group or whatever? Stay aligned with what you want. And that's how you more quickly build a business that supports what you want. This is the worst piece of business advice I ever got. The worst piece of business advice I ever got. And because it came from someone I looked up to, I believed it and I followed it and I struggled. And that is throw everything at the wall like spaghetti and see what sticks. Marketing is testing, but you want to have a strategy. You don't want to just throw everything at the wall, because if you don't know how to know what's working, you're wasting your time, your money, and your energy. Next week, I am doing a masterclass. The masterclass is Unscripted. Discover the insider secrets you need to know to become an effective and profitable hypnotist. The link is in the show notes. Go sign up, and I look forward to seeing you there.